Namaskar and a happy Vijayadashmi to all. This is coming live from three different channels: Strategic Frontlines, Ganeshot, and P Gurus. And let's welcome the three good channels. Namaskaram, sir. How are you?
Namaskar.
Namaskaram,
Namaskaram
sir. Nice to be back on your platform.
and
Always a
To the
happy
pleasure.
full
Vijay Dashmi.
happy
Happy
Vijayadashmi,
Vijayadashmi.
sir.
Happy
Yes.
Vijayadashmi to all.
Viewers, we have a full 11 playing, everybody fit and raring to go. And I'm going to start with our Sunil Gavaskar. General Ravi Shankar, you start, sir. As always, it will be followed by the Vishwanath of the team. And then, of course, for the fireworks, Mr. MS Dhoni. Over to you, sir.
Oh, thanks a lot. Is US retreating from global governance? And what does that mean for India? It means hell of a lot because USA is retreating very fast. Okay, right. Let's quantify what's this retreat all about because it's easy to say retreating, but what are the markers of this retreat? That's the thing, and then we'll discuss what impact it's going to have on all of us. It starts with NATO. NATO has this Article 5 guarantee, attack on oneness, attack on others, and all that. Trump has said the attack on one is not attack on others unless you pay up. And that's playing out in Ukraine, where he said, okay, if Russia attacks Ukraine, fine. You want to fight, continue to fight, you pay for it. And I will give you equipment. So, and this, he's been maintaining this for quite some time. So this is the first retreat, NATO. And he said, you pay up, your defense expenditure has to increase. And he's fixed it at 5%, right? So that's the first part. Then he's pulled out of the Paris Accord, climate. That is another kind of a retreat. Then he takes pot shots at, WHO, UN, and all that. And he's threatening them that he'll not pay up all that. And this, he put out, actually, these indications came out in his first,
From itself.
presidency
Correct.
also. Yeah, first time also. Now he's pulled out of that Mexico, US, Canada deal.
NAFTA.
Earlier it used to be called NAFTA. NAFTA got suspended. Then they had another deal, which was again concluded in his first term. Now he's pulled out of it. And tariffs. With tariffs, he's actually broken all kinds of global governance. Right. And then, interesting, India-US strategic partnership. It's all but dead. Right. Then this great flip on Pakistan. Uh, Pakistan was an international pariah till Sindur and whatever happened. And suddenly it's become the other way around. The Indo-Pacific strategy is dead, right? Then all issues regarding global security, free trade, climate, everything is all is up for grabs. Oh, what's even worse is that in this retreat, he is looking at retreating from Asia. And people are actively now, I won't say actively, they're very seriously discussing what will be the effect of a G2 with China. And he wants to retreat into the Western Hemisphere. And these analysis, everything is coming from Western analysts. It's not coming from us. We don't feel it, they feel it more. And the general consensus is this is going to break the global governance system. It's going to break American power. Because a lot of American power derives from the fact that there's credibility, that America will be there when it counts, all that. Today, what is America known for? Not being trustworthy, unpredictability, you know, inconsistency, and of course, lack of credibility. So all this are indications that USA is retreating. And then you look at the internal chaos he's created. Right, there's a shutdown, which is the latest, or the Dodge, or the ICE, whatever. Right, there's chaos internally. Internally, no one is settled. I mean, I've never seen USA so polarized in it my whole life as it is today. probably these conditions you can go back to the Civil War times, and that was when such things happened. At least I have not seen it happen in the recent past, right? And the kind of polarization you see after Charlie Kirk's assassination is astounding. I mean, it is something which I couldn't imagine. Well, people who are in USA would probably understand this better, but not me. Now, that's one part of the retreat, right? What is the other indication that USA is retreating? China is coming up. For my money, there's no way Xi Jinping could have put out this business of global governance initiative, but for the fact that he sees an opportunity when Trump is retreating, and there's no alternative to that. Okay, there's no alternative to that. Now he's compounded it with this H-1B visa system. So suddenly, China comes out with a K visa, but that's got its own problems, right? That's a different story. This global governance plus SCO, what he's done, SCO plus military parade, BRICS, all this put together, China is now putting forth an alternative. He's got the guts to do it because USA is retreating. And then what is most at risk hereafter will be the international financial structure. The way things, American economy is going, and his big beautiful bill and all that, might just derail the international economic structure, in which case the retreat will be even faster and the reordering will be even faster, and everything is up for grabs. So I think this is the large outline which I want to put across, on which will be the framework for discussion of the US retreat. We'll talk of what India has to do probably in the second round. With this, back to you, Sri Ayerji.
Thank you so much, sir. And now, General Dushyantji, I think you have a presentation to also go with your talk. Let's get started, sir. We have a lot to cover today.
Okay. Thank you very much. In fact, what I'll do is the opening batsman has now become a power player. So whatever were the issues which I was to show have been already covered by him in some form. But what I'll do, I'll go through the slides, and it'll become a record of sorts for the people to see
Yeah.
as to what we are talking about. So first, the question is the US moving away from global governance? My short answer is yes. Now, if you look at the indicators, this is exactly what all the General Shankar said. Firstly, retreat from multilateral institutions. He's already spoken about it. America first and selective multilateralism. What I'm trying to say here is he's picking and choosing where he's got his interest. He goes by that particular alignment. Where he doesn't go. Example: chips and inflation reduction, etc. So wherever the domestic industrial policies support, he goes with that. Then there is a shift in the globalization to geopolitical competition. Rather than going for globalization, he's going more for competition. Tariff is something of that sorts. U.S. foreign policy is also seeing more and more focus on Russia and China, and not on the other multilateral platforms like Quad, etc. Jal Shankar mentioned Quad is dead. Similarly, financial and security commitments are becoming conditional. NATO burden sharing is an issue which he highlighted. There are many other aspects where he's not ready to underwrite the global public goods unless the US interests are involved in it, and WHO and so on and so forth. Rising skepticism. I think there is an internal US politics also playing hard. The MAGA factor is kind of keying into this whole overall game of shifting away from globalization to nationalism, is what I would say. So if you look at it overall, I would say currently, I'm not saying that this is the trend. The US is not fully abandoning the global system outrightly. It still relies on NATO, etc., with conditions. IMF, World Bank, with conditions, whenever it is convenient to him. But the trend is clear. Washington is retreating from being an architect and a guarantor of global governance toward the more transactional, interest driven, and competitive posture. I would say that he's following the gang. I think to some extent, India has started this particular approach of we following our national interest. Everybody has slowly started picking it up, and everybody is using the tools in its armory to put forward its national interest first, and then look at the globalization aspects. If we go to the next one, uh, this is an interesting data which I came across, and I think this will be good. It's slightly old, but it kind of gives you the trend. If you look at the Gallup poll 2025, 66% of Americans want the US to take a leading or a major role. So this is in kind of contravention to what the trend is. Gen Z, now this is very important. Carnegie has done a poll in which they are saying more views for global engagement in the younger generation. How far it is true, how far the Carnegie poll is true, I think Sri IRG will be able to put more focus on it. But these are the written trends which I am trying to highlight. View on the global threats by Pew 2025 trend is to treat global threats more seriously. Here I'm talking of non-traditional threats, etc. For example, environment, water security, etc. Those kind of things. Public support for US-led global health. Here there is a major difference. Only 14% say that the US should have no role in it. So somewhere the WHO linkage, WHO approach which the current president has undertaken, I think it's not in sync with the overall mood of the nation. What about the satisfaction with the US global role? Only as per the Gallup poll, only 33% are satisfied how the US is viewed globally or its current international position. 65% are dissatisfied. If these figures have changed because of the National Guard action, etc., we will be able to get to know only if Sri IRG throws some light on it. I had the latest opinion poll, so it just gives you an idea of where things are heading. There is a disconnect internally, but it is not to say that the internal politics is totally against Trump. There is a huge amount of support for him, and that is why he is targeting the blue states. If you listen to his 800 generals being summoned, one-star generals included in that, being summoned to Virginia and given
Quantico.
Quantico, Virginia, sir, and given it's a marine base. Given a dressing down, I would say I have not seen any political leader openly trying to speak in such a manner as they did, both of them. Peter Hegseth, as well as imagine Peter Hegseth was a journalist, I think, of Fox News, and suddenly he started teaching to the generals who have fought so many. I mean, not these generals per se, but over a period of time, American military does have a very rich, legendary history to back them up. There were certain things going wrong, but not. This is not the way to, I think, treat people. This is going to backfire. That's my view on it. I did a detailed show yesterday on this issue, and we had some interesting people in that, and they all are in agreement with what I am trying to say. So is it a Trump agenda? If you look at it in a detailed manner, it is not a Trump agenda entirely. This trend was being followed even from the past. Trump has become a catalyst, and he's really driving it home, especially with his tariff war and visa conditions, etc. I think he's trying to cut off the globe from the Americans. In the long run, I feel they will be the overall losers. Then I thought of four scenarios. First scenario, status quo, decline, low governance role. I think India, in the long run, will be more autonomous and have a good regional focus. Probably it will be able to pull off the multipolar stance. But if the scenario in the future is progressive left leaning, which is less likely, but if that happens, again, you will find India will emerge as a global South leader. There will be pressure on India on the global commons, such as climate pressure, but it will be kind of co-leader with the EU. If the third is that US adopts the Biden style centralism, selective multilateralism, India would again be a major player in the Quad. It will be the linchpin. And it also would be the global South bridge, as I have been always telling that we should start calling ourselves a bridging power rather than a balancing power. And finally, the current trend, which is Trump 2.0, hard America first, MAGA, whatever you want to call it. In the long run, currently, of course, there is a push of India going closer to China. But I think in the long run, India would emerge as the player in the Indo-Pacific again to counter China and also along the borders. So because we would also be generating our own military power, our own military strength. So as and when we gather that strength, military heft in us, I think we will start emerging as a major fifth pole, if I were to add it, fourth pole, fifth pole, whichever way you want to call it, and that would be quite good. In all the scenarios which I rolled up, I think India has a good outlook, especially because of its overall approach to foreign policy and its economic effort in ensuring economic growth, which is more than about 7%. Accordingly, our military heft will also increase. So finally, overall, what I see for India, and this can be discussed because this was to be done in the second round, across all scenarios, India emerges as a swing power and an agenda setter. If the US retreats, Trump style, India fills more the space in the global south and multipolar coalitions. And Jan Shankar also mentioned, if you vacate the space, others will come in. Whether China will be able to displace India, that's a separate discussion. But I think India has a better chance in the global south. If the US stays selectively engaged, like the Biden style, still India has, as I said again, Indo-Pacific. We will have the necessary heft to counter China. And if the US goes progressive, India becomes a co-leader in reshaping institutions. This would be something like an idealistic position. I hope it goes that way. With that, I will stop here and we will take the rest of the issues in the second round.
Thank you so much, sir. And now, General Rajiv Narayanan. I have a few observations about what is happening in America, but I'll wait till General Rajiv Narayanan has had his say. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, I generally agree with what both General Shankar and Dushyant have mentioned, but I have a different perspective on it. He is walking out of those institutions where he feels that USA has lost its power to control the narrative, whether it be climate, UNHCR, WTO, WHO. He feels the US doesn't have that narrative. So my question is essentially, is he pulling back actually? Or is this tariff war disrupting the global order so much that the US is getting isolated? Whether you pull back or you get isolated, it appears in the same way. And my view is his aim is actually to go back to the old 20th century binary, us and them. And that is where he wants you to be away from Russia, China, be part of him, you are with me or not with me. No, the moot point he's missing is that, is it feasible in today's interdependent world? You may say no globalization, no, India first, this first. All that is nice, but you're dependent on resources on other countries. So that interdependence stays. You can't get away from it in today's industrialized world. And the main moot point is the arrogance. Does the US have the heft to back its arrogance? I don't think so. I think they misread that part. Basically, he had two choices, like I had given earlier also in your channel earlier, that the Republicans, they have the Heritage Foundation, and every time before the presidential election, they take out a handbook for the president. So if you read this 2025 mandate for governance, in that, when you go down to the foreign policy issue and geoeconomic, there are two chapters being written on geoeconomics, one by Peter Navarro, the other by Kent Lassman. Now, Peter Navarro said tariff war and twist them to get trade agreements to the manner in which you want. This page, anyone who wants to check it, page 765 of that. And the next chapter, Kent Lassman has written, which he says, no, get into trade deals. And there will be give and take. This is page 796 of that mandate. He is chosen Navarro, and that's how he is his trade advisor. Now, what is most important? Like a whole lot of people have questioned the manner in which he has singled out India. Now, when you look at Navarro's chapter itself, as per the trade deficit, you are at number 10. You are not the top. You are at number 10. Yet he has singled you out. There is another portion in this chapter which he talks of differential, percentage differential and the amount. Yes, percentage differential, you are the highest. But the amount which is there, you are the least. The highest are China, EU, and Japan. Yet he is targeting you. Why? Because he feels that as a strategic autonomy, you straddle both the worlds, which he didn't want. He wants a break, which is not feasible, but who will bell the cat? So that is the reason why he finds himself isolated today. That he walked out of climate, he walked out in his first time also. He wants NATO to increase that. In his first term, people will remember when he went to the, I would say, old NATO and new NATO. Because they are the older countries who are part of NATO. And then when the Berlin Wall broke and the others came in, they are the newer countries. Every time every president has gone and addressed the NATO, they have always invoked and spoken about the fifth article, Article 5 that General Shankar had mentioned. He went to Germany, he refused to invoke Article 5. He went to Poland and invoked the Article 5. Said that, yes, I will come for your help. That time it was 2.5%. Now he has increased it to 5%. And that is one of the reasons why I feel that more than the vacuum is coming, because suddenly people don't want to deal with such a US. And so the vacuum comes. Who provides the leadership? Because if you look at the world everywhere, I'm not talking about the politicians. The people yearn in general for stability, peace, and development, which unfortunately this trade war, tariff war that he has done, and his flip-flops, and his diplomacy through SM, which everybody, social media, which everyone talks about, and the sheer arrogance of him and his team has made the rest close ranks. So hence the vacuum. Who will give the leadership? Who will provide the leadership? And in that, the question to the US and Trump through this channel, I would ask, the world is getting together. They'll manage. There will be some multipolarity. Yes, something will happen. They will manage. The world can live without the US. Can the US live without the world? Now, when you started blocking H1 visa, you did with the ICE, with the South Korean workers whom you arrested despite having all the agreements and having all the permits, and South Korea has told them Tata bye-bye. Short of apologizing, he's now taken out a tweet to say that yes, we don't have trained workers and we are ready to give visa to people to come, short-term visa, to train our boys to be able to do the work. Who will come? Till he doesn't apologize to South Korea, you think anybody is going to come? Because what he says and what the State Department does and what the ICE does, there's nobody, it appears there's nobody coordinating that. So the question now I have is to the Congress, the manner in which he is issuing executive orders. I don't think the Constitution of US permits him to keep issuing these executive orders. Will the Congress smell the coffee and take down this maverick and put him in his place, that this is what the powers you are? And because as per the Constitution of US, I am clear, as per Article 1, the powers rest with the Congress and not with the US president. How long? Forget the damage to the global environment. Look at the damage he's doing internally. General Shankar has already mentioned about it. Look at the damage he's doing internally. If you delay it, who will repair the damage? For that, the global supremacy, what you had has gone, the vacuum has come, the vacuum will stay, because the next person who comes in has to first stitch up the damage that this person has done. So I'll stop it here.
Thank you so much, sir. And I just wanted to give an update to the viewers about what is going on as far as the shutdown is concerned. Viewers, you will laugh when I say this thing. The Democrats have decided to shut down Senate and stop funding of non-essential government organizations because the Republicans are about to cut Obamacare for illegal immigrants. They don't want the health benefits to be cut to illegal immigrants. Things have become so bad that in the state of California, it is illegal for me, a US citizen, long-term US citizen, to ask anyone on the street what is the legality of their status. It's illegal. They can throw me in jail for just asking somebody, assuming that I know their language and speak their language. What is the legality? Things have become ridiculous. That's all I can tell you. But this is one of the reasons why the government is in shutdown right now. Basically, this is something that both opposition parties, whether it is the Republicans or the Democrats, do when they are in the opposition, somehow stall the whole thing. What is the debt ceiling? Look, we are already at 37.5 trillion. And this debt ceiling is an official thing where the Congress says, "Theek hai beta, aur thoda badha do, aur thoda badha do." Up to where? Where is the limit? When do you stop this? This has just become ridiculous what Trump is trying to do. And I'm going to take a step back. Trump is trying to take a big bite out of this deficit. And you will start seeing that probably in about a couple of months or a couple of weeks' time, somewhere in the next few weeks leading up, because what has to happen is that 37.5 needs to come down to maybe 27. So 10 trillion, he needs to figure out something in the US assets column and say, I had these assets, I did not value them properly, and therefore, when these things are valued properly, the debt comes down. The reason for all this is there is a law called the Ferguson's Law. Ferguson's Law predicts looks at the history and says, the day the interest payment exceeds the defense budget of a country, that day that superpower ceases to exist. And guess what? In United States, it just crossed. I think the interest payments are close to 1 trillion and the defense budget is 800 billion. Now you understand why the 800 generals have been called 1, 2, 3, 4 stars to listen to something. What is really going on? So there is a lot of sloth, wastage. DOGE was a good start. They found out that the Department of Treasury was authorizing payments without a code against which they are supposed to authorize, because these codes are assigned according to what the Congress authorizes the Department of Treasury to spend. Total profligate spending. And I can't for the love of me understand why that thing has now gone into the back burner. DOGE was one of the most radical things that the Trump administration did to identify wastage. And yesterday I did a program, $7.4 billion in CHIPS Acts completely set away for slush funds. So viewers, what is happening is huge churn. The Biden administration has done a number on the US taxpayer. The US taxpayer is so saddled by debt that they don't have a way to look up and see what exactly the Democrats have done to them. Viewers, I'm telling you, there is something called buy now, pay later. If you, let's say you buy an item for $30, $30, there is an option at the sales checkout counter. Do you want to pay only a small installment of that? See how the payment, how your money is being stretched. Airline tickets, you can buy them in installments. And airline tickets, you're done in half an hour, 1 hour, you've reached your destination. But you're going to pay that thing for 12 months? What kind of a joke is that? Where is America heading? So it's huge economic problems that people are not understanding. And this Obamacare thing that the Democrats have used is just, beyond me as to why they would do it. And I have a feeling that this is done because steadily, today I'll tell you how many deported. The number stands at 255,000. And this is the people that have been caught and deported. There's a self-deported, meaning people realize that they have better chance of coming back into the US if they legally exit, even though they came in as illegal. That is standing at 1.6 million. But the total illegals is between 11 to 15 million. So there is still a big chunk. Only 10% have been deported. Where are they going? Actually, now US has signed deals with 4 African countries, in addition to El Salvador and a few others. Maduro doesn't want to take Venezuelans back. That is the bulk of the people. Mexico doesn't want to take its illegals back. So US is in a lot of pain. And I don't know why they needed to open this front on the tariffs, because remember I told you the 10 trillion they want to reduce, and one of the line items they are saying is, oh, we're going to make income from tariffs, and they claim that we have cut 200 billion so far. 200 billion. And where is 10 trillion and where is 200 billion? That's nothing. Now they've got investments promises from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, from UAE, from Qatar, total together of 2 trillion over a period of time. Again, Apple says 500 billion over 4 years. Japan is balking at the 500 billion because the terms are unimaginable. Their PM has quit. So the 10 trillion cut, where they are going to get it is still up in the air. One big thing is gold, and US has been storing up gold, but what kind of ramifications that's going to have, whether they're going to have to use something called as dollar, which is inside the US, and dollar, which is outside the US, two-tier currency system. If that happens, my God, I'm telling you, life is going to go upside down, viewers. I've been warning about this for 3-4 months. I've got experts also to come in and tell you, please listen to P Gurus. You need to understand there's a huge reset coming. De-dollarization, not in so many words and not in the way Ankit Shah says, but it's coming in a slightly different way. That's all I want to say. I don't want to be Dr. Doom here. Let's get back to General Ravi Shankar. Sir, second round, over to you.
Yeah, what does India do? That's the $1 million question with us. We should be very clear about how things are going to pan out. I'll not get involved with what's going to happen within America, Democrats, Republicans, let them do what they want. The fact is, America is going to go through a lot of internal issues. They're not going to come out of it in this term or in the next term. That's my prediction. So from now to the next 7 years, there will be a lot of internal strife in America, because Trump will leave them at a state which the next president will only try and pour waters over the boiling oil. We'll see how far it goes, but 7 years of strife is looking ahead. Now, we all know, it's very clear that economically, America is not so strong. There's no doubt about it. It doesn't have that economic heft which it had, say, even 5 years back or 10 years back. But one heft it has, and it's its military heft. Whether you like it or not, it still has the 700 odd bases in locations where American armed forces are there, and they have presence. The second thing which has happened is, while we say that America has retreated from the global scenario and isolationist and all, it's not exactly so. Like what General Dushyant and General Rajiv Narayanan said, it is a selective withdrawal. And at certain places, Trump has pushed ahead. This consolidation of the West Asia, watering down Iran, right from Gaza to Pakistan, he's consolidated and he's pouring into Central Asia. We don't know whether it is going to succeed or not. That's a different story. But the fact is, this is an alternate heartland in his way of thinking. And somewhere in his guys, that Mackinder's theory was heartland of Siberia. And this is the rimlands. But for him, he's going halfway into the heartland with Central Asia. And he's also already consolidated West Asia. So there is a watered down version of that heartland theory, which is hanging on to. I don't know who's the brain behind it, but you see a thing. Plus, initially he put out his feelers for consolidating the Western Hemisphere. That's still on. So there is a hybrid form of a retreat which is happening. Retreat somewhere, going forward somewhere. So it's a new geopolitical dimension we have to deal with. But let me look at it now. Which are the big poles? You can talk of 3 poles, 4 poles, 5 poles. Which are the big poles? One, of course, is USA. Second is China, no doubt. But the third big pole, which can match both these, is EU economically. EU put together fully makes one big pole. But the problem with EU is today it is politically divided and it's weak politically and it's not able to pull. But EU itself is seeking space. It's realized that it can't go along with USA. It can't go along with China either because going with China is self-destruction. And much of the state EU finds itself in is because of China. That's a realization there. Ideally, they would have liked to continue their relationship with USA, but it's not happening. So where else will they go? They have to strike out elsewhere. Where are they moving? Because from there you get cues as to where we should move. They're pinning their hopes a lot on India. They're pinning their hopes on this IMEC going through, incidentally. They're pinning their hopes on South Korea, Japan, and the global south. This is their why global south? Because most of these Europeans are colonial regimes who have still their colonial connects into the global south. And they'll flip. You might say that the global south doesn't like the Europeans, old colonials, all that. But that's not so. That might not be so. They might themselves flip. So this is the scene in the, I would say, the third largest pole, a divided pole, but it's there. And then we come in and East Asia. So how do we react? I've been maintaining this consistently. Our way is you can't go with USA, you can't go with China. And this is very clear. I mean, we have no option. You go with China or USA, it is purely tactical, or it is purely for a particular cause. The larger thing you have to get to be strategically autonomous in true sense, which means externally you have to go with EU. We've just signed that, or that EFTA has come into effect yesterday, I think, right? And next you have to, by December, just get going with the trade deal with EU. It'll come about because they are also very keen on it. We are also very keen, and nothing, and get this IMEC through. IMEC, Saudi Arabia is keen, UAE is keen, you're keen, Europe is keen. The only problem is Haifa and that going across north of Gaza. Well, for that we have Pakistanis. I mean, the way things are panning out, Pakistanis are going to be deployed in Gaza, taking care of IMEC ultimately. And this is what we'll see whether this happens or not 6 months, 8 months down the line. If the Gaza plan, which Trump has put, comes through and Pakistanis get deployed in there, Pakistanis will do two things. Okay. One, they will protect Israel from Hamas and get entangled with Hamas. Second, they'll give security to IMEC, which is good for us. So this is a new thing, this is, what do you call it? Opsundur 3.0, whatever it is. Okay, so that's it. Now, so that's something which we need to start really working on. It's important for us. The next point is, okay, you going to deal with EU, you're going to deal with Middle East. The third cluster, look at Japan, look at Philippines, look at Taiwan, look at South Korea, look at Indonesia, right? Indonesia has gone completely politically backed USA, right? Prabowo has gone to the UNGA and said Israel needs to be recognized. Invariably, you should expect their troops to be deployed along with Pakistanis as the international stabilization force in Gaza. So hence, USA, Indonesia should be politically okay with us. So we need to forge ties with them. So this is a third line we have to take. And of course, we have to look seriously at global south, because we till about 4-5 months back, I always maintained that India and USA should join hands to get leadership in the global south. But today, I would say it is India and EU which has to start. And you have to start dealing with each country in the global south based on its colonial legacy and your links with that colonial power or that European colonial power. Right? So it's going to be a multi-dimensional scenario. And all this, you have to ensure that you keep China off your back. Okay. So I think we have to start looking at our diplomacy differently. If you want to do all this, your military has to be up to it. So you would have to put in more into our defense structures, and you have to invest more into defense. If you have to invest more into defense, you have to ensure that you have the capability to spend what you are investing into. And you have to put the structures in place. The defense reforms which are taking place as of now are suboptimal. Right? I have no doubt about it. And I've been saying this from a long time. They're suboptimal. If we continue with all the growth we are having and everything else, and if we continue with the same kind of a thinking that we're going to be the third pole or the fourth pole or the fifth pole, and continue to do what we do with our defense acquisitions, we'll not go there. Because as much as our economic heft, the time for us to up our military heft as we navigate these uncertain waters is very important. Right? And on a case-to-case basis, we still have to cooperate with USA on defense matters. And this is something which we'll have to do a Jekyll and Hyde kind of a scenario, because in all this, what you see is the defense ties. The India-US defense ties are the strongest still. And they remain the strongest for the USA also. It's USA's requirement. Right? So that we have to continue with it. It's going to be quite a, I wouldn't call it a bugger's model, but it's not going to be a simple affair. I see a lot of complications coming in. In all this, we still have to see how we can handle China. Whether you want to do economic relations with them, not, how, we still have. Because a certain amount of technology input from China is mandated even now. How you do it is a million-dollar question. So it's a complicated scene we are looking at. Plus the fact, of course, you have a toxic Pakistan. Okay. In all this, I get back to the fundamentals. You can get external strength only if you're internally strong. And if America is teaching us anything, their lack of internal strength at this point of time, right, is costing them externally. And we shouldn't fall in that trap. And we should see how we can strengthen internally. These problems like what's happening in Ladakh, what's happening in Manipur, and what's happening in some of the other areas, or political upheavals which are taking place in South India, like this Karur episode, they have the chance of metastating into something which will cripple us, because that's the nature of India, right? We are vulnerable still. By the very strengths which we have, we are also vulnerable. So I think we are going into a certain amount of uncertainty in one area, equally with a lot of opportunity along with this uncertainty. And we must be clear that every opportunity comes with a whole lot of uncertainties. We need to be nimble when we deal with things outside, but internally we need strength. Yeah, this is what I had to say. Oh, back to you, Shreyas.
Thank you so much. General Dushyant, your thoughts on what India should do moving forward, sir? Looks like your screen is frozen, General Dushyant. Can you hear us? You're also muted. You're muted, sir. Unmute yourself, please. Can you unmute yourself, sir?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that due to limited time, and since most of the issues on way ahead have been covered, I'll point out certain things which are a reality now. If we think that the current trend of the US policy is going to change after Trump, I think we are sadly mistaken. That will continue. So that's a reality. It may only vary in terms of intensity. So let's be prepared for that one important trend. The second thing is there are new players emerging globally, and so therefore there'll be new equations. How they pan out about that, General Shankar has given his views. There are a number of options in that also. The space which is being created at the global level will be up for grabs, and those who are smart enough to grab this space are going to be the future underwriters of global world order. India stands a very bright chance if you look at it from a point of view that it is probably the possibly the least controversial player in the world. Even if you ask Israel, they would prefer an Indian contingent to go there and establish the security regime there once the Hamas, etc. The 20-point plan is put into action. Middle powers importance I would attach to few of them. Select West Asian countries. I think that is where we need to break this current convergence which is taking place. That has to be cut out. And whether we work around with UAE, whether we work around with Saudi Arabia or Jordan and Israel, we must try to get the I2U2. I'm not saying the ITU2 in the origin, but something similar to that has to be created in various regions of the world, and India should actually take the lead in that. The Southeast Asia is currently under less of a overwatch or supervision, because everybody focused on Western Hemisphere, EU, Russia, Ukraine, etc. That is the place where we need to quickly move our foot and expand our reach. Indonesia is a very good approach, nearest to us, possibly has more linkages with India than any other country in the Southeast Asian region. Uh, I mean, I don't want to comment on the DNA bit, which President Prabhu actually mentioned during his one of the speeches, that maximum he has Indian DNA in him. That besides the point, I would also like to share that at the level below the president, various meets are taking place between India and Israel, Indonesia, and that should be a good I would say policy framework where we are focusing in the right direction. Tomorrow, in fact, I have invited the Indonesian ambassador to Center for Land Warfare Studies. She's going to give a 1 hour speech on how Indonesia and India can synergize, optimize their efforts at the global level. So these things are happening at the level where Jan Shankar is trying to hint. And the last thing I would say is that we are going to be a swing power. That is for sure. So we swing powers have a lot of opportunities, but if they swing incorrectly, then sometimes we get bowled also. So our swinging has to be very carefully done as to which side we should pick up, because we have presence both in the east and the west, BRICS and the G2, G20, G7, SCO, you name it. I think we are kind of omnipresent in every multilateral. So we need to walk very cautiously. So all in all, I would say it's an era of opportunity. We have to play smart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dushant Singh ji. General Rajiv Narayanan. Sir, for the closing remarks on what India needs to do, and then we have a bunch of questions. I hope, as always, viewers, generals, you have a little bit of time beyond the 1 hour limit, because there's a lot to cover. General Rajiv Narayanan, over to you, sir.
Okay. Of course, I agree with what both General Shankar and Dushant have mentioned, and I remind the viewers of the Chinese game Wei Chi. Go. It's a game of influence. Go. And in that, the first thing is to secure your own side and flanks. That is priority one. Then priority, while you're doing that, you reach out to the others. So which should be our priority? I feel Indo-Pacific has to be your P1. European Union is the other thing which is further away from you. You continue with your trade deal with it. But Indo-Pacific is P1, and Indo-Pacific is not just maritime, it has a continental connect also. All nations who are landlocked but dependent on these waters also for their trade are also part of the Indo-Pacific. So automatically you find Indonesia comes in. I have always contested the centrality of ASEAN in Indo-Pacific. It is actually the centrality of Indonesia in the Indo-Pacific. They have ports both in the Indian Ocean and in the Pacific. Rest of them, Singapore has just got one port. All the others have small fishing ports on the Indian Ocean side. Their main ports are all on the Pacific side. They are not in the Indian Ocean side. Only Indonesia has that capability. We do this, automatically Africa comes in. And so when we are looking at EU, we should also reach out to Latin America. You're already buying, you've become the number one buyer of soy oil from Argentina. There are other countries also who are ready to do deals with you. Brazil is available with you. EU, of course, is right on your doorstep. EFTA with European countries, that is Norway, Iceland, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein has commenced yesterday. So when you do this, you are going to protect yourself. You do this as a priority. Whichever the scenarios like General Dushyant had mentioned in his last slide deck, the last slide of which way the US goes. The moment you have sorted out your priority things, whichever way the US goes, you are comfortable. Whether he is going to retreat, whether he is going to be aggressive, the one before this also. No, the one before.
Yeah, this one.
So whether he is status quo going on decline, whether he is progressive, whether he is selective, whether he is hard, if you have catered for your flanks, because now this is going to be a game of flux. We can take this out now. This is going to be a game of flux for about 5 to 10 years. It can be taken out for about 5 to 10 years. And there'll be a lot of churning, and whoever bats well and doesn't get out will be able to get influence. And why did I take Weiqi? Weiqi is a game of influence. Don't play chess. Play Weiqi. Protect yourself. Guard further extended areas with your trade deals and other things. Whichever way US goes, you would have guarded yourself. And for that, I subscribe to what General Shankar has said. Your internal and external security is paramount. So I'll finish here and we can take questions.
Thank you so much, sir. And as always, there are lots of questions for all of you gentlemen. Let's start with the questions now. Amitesh Behra wants to know, China is looking at all these. General Ravi Shankar, let's start with you, sir.
Yeah. I said no. China is seeing this entire story as an opportunity. That is why that fellow started his global governance initiative. And in fact, in Gunner Shot, I've done a full episode, a program on global governance initiative and what China is up to. They see this as initially I thought that when the SCO, Xi Jinping spelled it out, it is just that, but he's taken it forward. He's taking it forward. So we have to take China seriously. There's no doubt about it.
Next question, General Dushyant Singh, it's for you, sir. Akash Krishan Tadani wants to know, the Pahalgam incident was a trigger for Op Sindoor. In the present, operation is ongoing. The next attack by the enemy shall be digital/cyber to disrupt and destroy. Your views?
Look, we cannot predict that it will be A, B, C, D. If you go by the history of Pakistani attacks which have taken place, through their proxies, they have always been different from the previous one. Look at Mumbai, look at the train incident, look at the Akshardham, look at Parliament, look at Pathankot Air Base. Now, there is something called in the theory of terrorism tolerance for violence. This is a very, very important factor in when you consider escalation of terrorist violence. Now, every stage when your public becomes tolerant to a particular level of violence, they then impose a greater risk on you by escalating that particular violence. So, Pahalgam, people over a period of time will get used to it that Pahalgam happened. We did Op Sindoor. Op Sindoor was a game-changing kind of action which we did against Pakistan. So therefore, there is some amount of temporary deterrence, is what I call it. Deterrent, because it's a conventional deterrence. We don't call it as deterrence, but deterrent. Next thing would be something very, very different, maybe much higher, and maybe absolutely non-attributable, something which you cannot pinpoint to Pakistan. And I can give you an example of a aircraft blowing up in the air due to reasons not traceable to anyone, or it could be a massive power disruption of the country where you lose economically. When Mumbai was blackout for 3 days, it lost huge economic factor. Huge economic losses were suffered by Mumbai. So there could be any kind of action which they might take. The key word is it will be more severe, and possibly it will be non attributable, so that we cannot take action against Pakistan that easily. We will still take action, but how we take that action, that will come under a lot of debate.
Thank you so much, sir. I think it was 13 hours when Mumbai, portions of South Mumbai was under blackout. And also, viewers, India, I don't think has retaliated because China said it was going to do it. It wasn't like, they telegraphed the intention and then they did it. India has, I think, since then fortified some of the inputs that go into the power grid computing that they had bought from China. Some of that has been fixed, but India hasn't given back to China, to the best of my knowledge, in the same token. Although I know United States did hit China by messing up their bullet train schedules when they tried to finger with United States. That happened. You should listen to Elmer Ewan in one of his broadcasts with me. Took about 2 years ago. So US did tell China where it stands and what it can do. In fact, it's after that this whole set of revelations came out where Xi Jinping was forced to do massive purges. All that was US hitting back at China, that we know what you are doing. So India needs to give a little bit of that also. Do trade, do Sun Tzu, do trade, do war also, war by other means. So that's my 2 cents, sir. Let's go to the next question. Can you change the font, please?
Atmun
Rajkumar, what is USA's 5-year plan? Economically destroy Russia, bring down China, China economically after they secured their rare earths and build their microchip fabs in USA. And what with Bharat, what will it be? General Rajiv.
Yeah. Are you sure that they'll be able to go through with this 5-year plan? How do you economically destroy Russia when you are buying things? When he's telling you not to buy, ExxonMobil is going and signing a deal with the Russians to buy crude from them. By the way, I hope people know that. How does he bring down China economically? He depends totally on China for his low and medium technology items. That's most of it is sourced from China. So how do you bring down China economically? So these are all wishes in the air that this is what he may be wanting to do it, but can he do it? His uranium for all is your enriched uranium for the fuel rods that he makes for his nuclear reactors come from Russia. A whole lot of minerals come from Russia. So how is he going to economically destroy it? Will he destroy himself? A secure rare earth from where? And how soon? Microchips fabs in USA. Where are the factories? After the incident with South Korean Hyundai, nobody is wanting to come there. They've told him, you set your house in order, only then we'll come. Does he have the labor for making that microchip there? I hope he realizes how much of foreign labor, I would say, because if he's looking at all kinds of immigrants and all, how many immigrants are there, non-resident, who are born in US, maybe second generation, third generation, but other generations are there in Intel and other companies. So that's different. With Bharat, I'm looking after mine, yeah. Why should I bother to sort out somebody else's economy? Here we are talking of how to secure yourself internally, your own economy, and secure your flanks. That is why I said Indo-Pacific is important, and do your deals and other things to secure your growth and make life better for your people. We are not looking at what he's looking. He may be wanting to, but if wishes were horses, beggars could fly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Next question. This is for General Ravi Shankar. Loki Subhi wants to know, sir, regarding depolarization, sir, with no main point of strength to counter China as well as will be multipolar, what is this framing of sentence, guys? What the hell am I supposed to understand? Multipolar, will India be ready by the time to lead against China, or also biggest hurdles? Sir, I hope you make sense of the question.
No, it's okay. I've understood what Lofi is saying. Look, let's be very clear. India is already ready to handle China. That's why we are handling it. Okay, we should have a confidence that as time goes, we'll only get stronger. And it is a matter of relativity and how you handle it. If you think we're going to be stronger than China and bigger than China and all, it'll never happen. That is wishful thinking, right? Because China is a what shall I say, a communist country with a lot of inbuilt issues where certain things have been put in place. Its manufacturing prowess, incidentally, is not new. It has been there right from the nationalist days of Chiang Kai-shek, right? And it was we shouldn't try and compete there. We should work on our strengths and do what we have to do. Okay, and whatever internal polarization which we are looking at, we should resolve, and that's a governmental internal thing. Well, being a democracy, at times we'll handle it well, at times we'll not handle it well. But definitely handling it better as we go along will pay us dividends. That's how I look at the whole thing.
Next question from Milban Cherian. Do you think that what President Trump has done so far will automatically destroy the tentacles of the cabal or deep state in most of the countries, whether they like it or not? General Dushan.
Destroying deep state is dependent on destroying the center of gravity of a state. Deep state definitely not is the center of gravity. It is one of the force multipliers of that particular country. So you have to actually attack the center of gravity of that country to actually dismantle deep state. Deep states will continue in whatever form, in whatever intensity, depending on the overall strength of that particular country.
Next one, please. Raji, this is for you, sir. Thank you, New Horizon. Sir, why India will not be the only manufacturing hub? Is it our incapability or something else? What will be at least highly self-dependent in our nation sector? General Raji.
Yeah, see, this is one of the biggest lessons which was learned during COVID by all the nations, that you cannot put all the eggs in one basket. They had put everything in Chinese basket, and then came the zero COVID there and everything shut down. So that is why I have always said that you will not be the only manufacturing hub. Yes, you will be a major hub, but there will be other hubs across the region. That is what de-risking, friend-shoring, everything is all about. It's not about our incapability. And yes, it will take time, but we will become self-dependent. But it's a question of self-dependence. Atmanirbharta, when you talk about, there is a subtle difference in that phrase. Don't take it as sovereignty proper. Sovereignty means everything and everything you have, and so you control the policy. Sorry, it doesn't happen that way. You will still be bringing in material resources from outside. Any policy change in that government affects you. Policy changes brought there. So keep that in back of your mind. You will say that you are self-dependent. Yes, you make everything for yourself. But to make that, the resources have to come. Some of the resources will be sought from outside. So in that manner, you will be dependent on them. And that is where I said alliances, trade agreements, friend shoring, de-risking, all this happens for these reasons.
Thank you so much, sir. Next question, please. Sundar wants to know, how is this possible? Ayers, sir, unimaginable. The Democrats, in my view, are damaging the USA for their agenda. Just watch closely some of our updates, viewers. I'm just giving you the facts. I'm not embellishing it. This is where the things are now, right now stuck as far as the shutdown is concerned. Just keep watching P Guru's videos. Next question, please. This is back to you, General Ravishankar. Ashish Hegde wants to know, US the biggest market of the world and China the biggest manufacturer. Dollar, the reserve currency, best military in the world is US. It may easily survive Trumpomania due to its Wall Street companies. What is the question here, sir?
Yeah, I understand what he's saying. Yeah, I think what you're saying, Ashish, is fundamentally right. Right. I mean, let me take it to a little tangent. I wouldn't say tangent, but I'll give a different explanation. USA has gone through crisis. Whether it was the problem during the vaccines, it was the problem during the global financial crisis. You go back to the last century, the Great Depression, or for that matter, the say 9/11. It has a capability, internal strength of USA to absorb shocks and come out winners. That's the fundamental strength of USA. Okay, and every time it comes back stronger. This is history. Okay, you can't you can't throw it away because Trump is around. So if you look at USA, say 6, 7, 8 years ahead, they would have absorbed the Trump effect, right, and probably come out stronger. Today you're worrying about debt, this, that, and all. For all you know, Trump is making room or making the foundation in his own way for USA to recover. We don't know. This whole story is yet to be played out. So we'll wait for it. Okay? That's how it is.
Thank you, sir. Next question. Thank you, AJ.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is for
Rajiv had a point.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry, I did not watch. Please go ahead, Dr. Rajiv.
Only I just want to add that, except for the, like when you had the 2008 subprime problem, that was one incident. 9/11 was one incident. But what Trump is doing is number of incidents over 4 years. Continuously over 4 years. And that is why General Shankar said that it will take them at least one, if not two presidents to recover. And we never mentioned that US is not going to recover. It will take a little more time for it to recover.
Next question, AJ, thank you so much. This is for General Dushyant. Guruji, logon ko sadar namaskar, Shubh Dashara. Thank you and same to you. I'll wait for the next question, sir. This is for Dushyant ji. Well wishers then, while we say we are non-aligned at world front, economically our state-to-state ties are still deep-rooted. If USA detangles from democratic principles, what incentive will be left for new ones?
Look, India has been relating with almost every country, irrespective of whether it is a democratic country, whether it is being ruled by a dictator, whether it is being ruled by a communist party or expansionist regime. So India will continue the way it has been continuing. That's a very good kind of an approach to overall world problems. There is no constant, no ideology can be said to be good for everyone. If you look at the West Asian West Asian area, initially America came with the slogan that we want to make all these countries democratic, and it had to eat its word. So we need to work with what we have.
Next question, please. Thank you, sir. Durga Das wants to know if US Supreme Court, I don't know, or Congress undo what Trump did, Will it be business as usual in Indo-US relations? General Rajiv.
So what is there in the Supreme Court is that liberation tariff of April and the prior to that. After that, nothing is there. My reading is that the Supreme Court is going to say that that Liberation Act was unauthorized. He didn't have the authority, and he will use that to remove that 25% additional tariff and other things that he can done. That is the only off ramp he's going to get if he needs a deal with India. Otherwise, he doesn't get any deal with India, and he's desperate to get a deal with India before the EU, which is not going to happen. Will it be business as usual in Indo-US relationship? Well, the business as usual will Indo-US has always followed a sinusoidal curve. Up one day, down the other day, up one day, down the other day. Obviously, it is going to still be the same. Up one day, down the other day, up one day. That's all I have to say.
Next one, please. This is for General Ravi Shankar. Ananta Venkateshan wants to know, Namaskar to all three generals and Sri sir. Today, there was a need that an oil tanker was seized by G7 countries.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
This is referring to the black fleet, black ship of the Russians, which were caught by the French. Well, there was one caught by the Finnish also. While it was told it had manifested itself that it is carrying oil for India, that was not the case why it was stopped. So let me set the platform straight. Why it deviated, it had given a route that it had given, and it deviated from there and came near the French coast. The NATO suspects that this oil tanker actually launched those drones which shut the airports, Polish and the Netherlands and Denmark airport for quite a while. And it had come close to the French coast, so the French then went and caught that ship. So it has got nothing to do with trade. It has got to do with the grey zone warfare that the Russians are doing with the Europeans. The Finnish one, if I may add, about 2 weeks ago, 1 or 2 months ago, it was done. It had dropped the anchor, dragged it, and it had snapped the underground internet cable. That's why it was caught.
Was it the Chinese vessel, sir? Was it a Chinese vessel that done that?
No, Russian. The Chinese vessel was another one. This was the Russian one. And these were all black, old ships, unregistered, flying various flags. This one, if I remember correctly, was flying a Benin flag. It's not been registered, uninsured, and it is moving around. This has been caught for that. A lot of people are jumping to the conclusion that they caught it because of the oil coming here. Question doesn't take birth. Europe depends on this oil that we refined oil from that to Europe depends on that.
If they catch that oil, they'll not get oil back.
Yeah, question doesn't take birth. It was the grey zone warfare on suspicion. They have caught these because they plotted the path. They took the timings of the incident of the drones, and then the question came up because it deviated sharply from its the manifested path that it had given and came towards the southern French coast. That is.
Next one, please. Thank you so much, Veena, for gifting Ganashot membership. Next one, please. Shubham Vasishta wants to know, if the era of US global leadership is ending, what is the most likely, the most desirable new architecture for global governance in the next decade? General Ravi Shankar.
This is up in the air for grabs. We don't know. What we know is what we don't want. We don't want China at the helm. Okay, if that is taken out, it'll be an age of multipolarity, shared governance. Maybe even Russia is okay for us, and Russia will be acceptable. If this Ukraine war ends, Russia will be acceptable even to Europe in some manner. And in fact, Europe will seek accommodation with Russia. That's the way I look at it. And we have to understand one thing about Russia, which, a lot of people, Russia is the only country in the world which has a small economy. Its economy is not so big, but it is completely independent of everything. Whether you take food, energy, technology, everything it has got. And that is what makes it a power. So it'll be there as part of the global leadership. And I suppose at some point of time in future, the 5 poles we are talking of, USA, China, India, EU, if they can get their act together, and Russia will have to evolve into a new architecture.
May I?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, General Rajiv. General Rajiv, go ahead.
If we read history in the 19th century, Europe, a similar sort of a balance of power equation had emerged post the, even when Napoleon was coming up, and to balance that and the balance of power and post Napoleonic era, Metternich is considered a diplomat who coined all this and how to maintain so that there is a semblance of balance within Europe. Something similar at a much larger scale, because it is going to be global, and how do you balance out and how do you manage the global thing is likely to become. Uh, Nobody will be allowed to be a leader, also could be one. That was what the balance of power in Europe was, that everyone stayed in a balance. Nobody became bigger than the other. So, how you align with each other to maintain that balance is what this is going on.
Next one, please. General Dushan, this is for you, sir. 800 generals meeting. What's the outcome?
Well, the aim of this meeting was first to give a dressing down, to get out of their woke kind of a functioning which was happening
Mindset.
within the military. The second thing was to cut the bloat overseas, which means a focus on homeland security was to be increased, and this they are trying to somehow link it to the national guards actions which have taken place in the blue cities. So that was the second big agenda of this. The third was basically a long drawn process which started from 30th of April, when Secretary of War, now not Secretary of Defense but Secretary of War, issued a 10 or 11 point agenda for the US Army to start doing reforms and looking at the next generation warfare. So they felt that they are not ready to fight a future war. So therefore, that was just to give them that warning that you pull up your socks and start working towards that. And the fourth issue was possibly that the current leadership, to my mind, did this because they somehow have a inferiority complex. Secretary of War has had no experience as far as managing defense is concerned, except for journalism. I don't think journalism qualifies you to become a Secretary of Defense.
He's supposed to have done some
Then
duty in Iraq. He's supposed to have done some duty in Iraq.
yeah,
One year.
that was long time back.
It's
That was
part of
long time
national
back.
guard. As
But
part of national guard.
Yeah, National Guard.
yeah,
Okay,
so
I
yeah,
didn't know that part.
national guard. So pure military was not there, and the overall impression of this particular thing was that I don't think any of the 800 generals really liked what happened there. There was a deafening silence when all this action was taking place. In fact, the US president was begging for applause. I don't know how far it is true, but he said that I have never seen such a silent audience in his history. I don't know in his career. I don't know why that particular thing was said, but probably he's not used to a military crowd which only speaks when asked to be spoken. It's a good political army. I think it should not be disrupted the way they are trying to disrupt the tariffs, etc. It is going to
Yeah,
play. It is going
delve
to
into that system.
harm. Yeah, it is going to harm the US in a big way.
Yeah, and I would like to add one point in this. Something very important. Armies know how to sulk. What I could make out. No, armies sulk.
They were sulking. They
They
were
were
sulking.
sulking. This
You
US
saw that in
armed
that
force
parade which he had
parade
organized.
organized. They're sulking. This army is sulking, and
Parade was like a.
they're not in a good space. If I were anyone in, I mean, look, let me look at it this way. If I were in service and something like this happened, I wouldn't have liked it at all.
Absolutely, absolutely.
There's no question
denying on
of
that.
this. I wouldn't have liked it, and I would have told someone, look, this is not the way to be done. And the strange part in this is it's been 48 hours since the talks taken place. No one has reported that there's a feedback on this.
No one.
Not even the press. No one has reported a feedback on how this whole story has happened. And it's a fantastic military machine. Uh, I don't think it's being handled well.
Next one, please. India wins. This is for, I think, General Rajiv. India wins wants to know why we still continue to have gold in UK and invested in US bonds. We should convert USD to gold, rare earths, and crude oil reserves.
We are slowly divesting, but to hold the gold, you need space. You got to create that kind of security and everything to place it. So if you look at Fort Knox, the Federal Reserve, not Fort Knox. Fort Knox is US gold. The Federal Reserve vaults also has gold of a lot of other countries, not just India. Apart from UK, you convert it into gold in a step-by-step way. The gold has to be available. No? Last 2-3 years, India, China, they have been one of the biggest buyers of whatever gold has been made available for purchase by the countries. Rare earth crude oil reserve, if it is up to the Reserve Bank and the country to decide in what manner they hold. Why do you want to hold your foreign exchange as reserves and crude oil reserves? What will it give you? Nothing. So normally it is gold, bonds, US bonds, and other currencies also. Basket of currencies which the IMF has laid out. You keep it in those things.
Next question, please. Oh, viewers, before I go to the next question, do watch Mohan Krishna Sonti's discussion with me about the complete energy situation, not just one thing, not just oil, not just wind, not just solar, not just nuclear. This thing is capturing the entire world reserves, how much is being used by each country, how much they have left, what is the forecast for how many years will you be able to continue in the same way. Do look at that. It's a full fact-filled video. Don't miss. That's a very, very well done presentation. All I can tell you is you get all your answers from looking at that one. Next question, please. This is for General Ravi Shankar again. Bobji wants to know, suddenly social media is full of news about Burkina Faso and India's agreements with them. Is this true? I have not seen Sriji's mono on that, which means it may not be true. General Ravi Shankar.
Yeah, sometime back it came out. For those of you who don't know, Burkina Faso used to be Upper Volta. It's on the west coast of thing. It's a landlocked country, and sometime back the news came out that we are helping them with their grains, wheat, and agriculture and all. And they want to get off the colonial masters. They don't want to go with China. They don't want to go with Europe. They don't want to go to USA. They felt that they want to come with India. Their head, Ibrahim Traore, he came out with some videos. People said that's AI based. I'm not sure. But overall, we still maintain an embassy there. And I'm sure, that's why I said, look, what we are doing with the global south, a lot of things are going under the carpet. And I don't think we are making a big deal about it because some of these things are best not brought in, public view. And I think this is one of those things. Let's wait. We should not be in a hurry to do. We are helping them in agriculture, which is their main requirement. Right, and agriculture technology, there people are going from PUSA and ICAR, which is good. So it's a low-key relationship at this point of time.
Deep fake diplomacy. Burkina Faso signs 14 billion India deal, slams Trump.
Yeah, this is a fake, but there is a certain amount of cooperation going on.
Next one, please. India wants to know, why will India attack Indian electricity grid? Why will China attack Indian electricity grid where its own equipment is installed? China is not fool like Pakistan. It could be USA who might have done it to instigate India versus China. Possible? General Rajiv.
No. See, The reason, like what Sri Ayerji had also mentioned, he can do it if it is his hardware which is there. He knows the back
Yeah.
door and he can do it. For me to do it that side, my hardware has to be there. Or I should be able to enter into his hardware and do something where there is a degree of deniability. To say that he will not attack it because his equipment is there, sorry, it doesn't sound logical. Because whether my equipment is there or not, if I look at the other country as my competitor or a threat, I will target it. So you have taken steps to make sure to take out quite a lot of his equipment which is there everywhere in India, primarily because he comes in very cheap. So that is the main issue. USA to do it to instigate, I don't think in that instant case it was the case. Yeah, Jen Dushyant had some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. This particular incident has been written in great detail in my book, Gray Zone Warfare.
Yes,
I have covered it with facts and proof that it was a China initiated action. One, two, it was a technology demonstrated by China that we can, and it was not only the electricity, it was the ports, it was all your regional load distribution centers of power. Everything had been tested and uh, kind of message given to India that none of your systems are safe from us. Initially, if you see, this particular electricity grid was established in 1975 or 1985. Now, 1985, we were not so particular about Chinese equipment, etc. We were in fact trying to go closer to China during that period. So therefore, we did have all these Chinese equipment, and that is why the new policy is that we don't want to get Chinese equipment because it's very easy for you to then cyber attack it. So in fact, your logic is incorrect. That's all.
Next, thought provocateur. Thank you so much. What is the real motive of general body meeting? So this is for you, General Dushyant Singh.
I'm not able to understand which general body meeting he was talking about.
so generals,
Uh,
800 generals
oh,
meeting.
800 general.
okay. Okay. This was already covered by me in the previous instance. The overall aim is to clean up the house. That's the as per their perception, as per the perception of Trump administration. They have felt that the American armed forces are not befitting. In fact, one of the statements was that we don't want to see fat generals in our defense forces. That was one. The second was the Peter Hegseth, the way he ended his speech. I think no world leader ends a speech like this, and that too coming from the US. FAFO. Please take the full form of FAFO. You will understand what it meant. I think it was a success. The armed forces are never treated like this. They may have some mistakes, they may have some problems. They are dealt with indoor and not as a public show. So I personally, I'm not even looking at this particular incident as an America's interest incident. I'm looking at it from a incident of any army being treated the way it has been treated. So I think this is something which to my mind is not a very good example of managing your armed forces. Coming
Yeah,
from
Thank you so
active
much, sir.
actions.
You wanted
yeah,
to add, General Ravi Shankar? Yeah.
yeah. This is something which, this is part of the larger story of why USA is withdrawing. You see, USA has this thing in their constitution, law, whatever you call it, that their army isn't used for internal security purposes. They use
Right.
the National Guard. And for the first time, I'm seeing the army being deployed, which is not a good thing, which is fundamentally something is amiss in this whole story. So, the effect of the military power of USA being eroded in the next 3 years of the Trump administration is something which we'll have to watch very clearly, closely. Whatever happens, you see, like I said, military power, they're still strong as of today with their bases, equipment, for everything. Their economic power we know is a little shaky. But if these people manage to water down or, scrub down the military power, then they're in trouble.
May I add
Then,
something?
Yes,
So,
go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
this is based on my interaction over 3 years with the American officers who were there in Tajikistan when I was there as the DA. One thing they mentioned very clearly: up to colonel, you are apolitical. Beyond that, you have to decide whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, and you've got to abide by that. Only then you go up.
Wow.
Only then you go up. Is this, I'm loud thinking, is this a case of Trump and his team thinking that the balance within the military has shifted towards the Democrats and less towards the Republicans? And him shouting about wokeism and everything and all that to be taken out could be a point where he feels that this thing is there. But and it doesn't sound logical. You're talking of profligacy, and you're getting people from all over the world to come to Washington to Quantico. That's next to Washington. You're bringing them by flight to Washington, and then from there they'll be going back to whichever their place of duty is from all over the world. Isn't that profligacy? You could have issued a letter. It should have gone to everybody. So there is something amiss between, I would say, the military and the Secretary of War and Trump and others. There is something else. There's more to it than meets the eye.
This question is back to you, General Rajiv. Mahesh wants to know how to deal. In fact, all of you can answer these things. Starting with Rajiv ji, how to deal with China without a US counterweight, with opposition and half front blocking developments, feigning environmental concern. Democracy in India is actually not serving its purpose. General Rajiv.
Mahesh, where was USA ever in our fight with them to say
China.
the counterweight? Zero.
Absolutely.
That's why India has said we are not even bothered about you, when he's been pushing us to help him. We said we are fighting our battle, you fight yours. Nobody has been a counterweight for us in our battles with China. So you should be very clear about that. Yeah, opposition point flight development, ye chalta raha. We have been dealing with it. I was there in the Northeast also. All these issues were there. We have learned to circumvent that. The military will still go ahead and do it. If the line of attack goes through a national park, it will go through the national park. That doesn't change for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So democracy and all that is internal security, blocking development, environmental concern. That is already on. That has already been going on, and it will continue. These will happen.
Yeah,
If democracy is not serving its purpose, that's a very strong statement to make peace. I want no dictatorship or autocracy. I am very happy with this democracy.
I'll prefer to have, the opposition we have today than no opposition.
Bilkul. You need an opposition for your democracy.
You see, these things about environment coming in the way of national security, infrastructure, etc., has been there when I was a second lieutenant. Maybe before that, when my predecessors were also in a same boat. Today, what has happened? The media has become very alive. So everything is being picked up. Small little issue is being picked up and thrown at the environment, and so therefore people get concerned about it. Supreme Court does bend when shove comes to push as far as national security is concerned. So only thing is that we have to pitch it correctly. Yeah, there are delays, no doubt about it. Delays have to be taken care of through alternate means. That is why there are a number of studies which are going on how to create a logistics supply chain without physically undertaking certain actions of tunneling, etc. So for those, there are some groups which have been commissioned, which will be looking at it, drones, etc., etc.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And what a session it was. Viewers, we'll be back again on next Thursday, same time permitting. All three generals will be there. And wonderful, sir. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
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 Namaskar. Thank you.